For every parent who's been desperate to get their child protected against COVID, today's a great day now that the FDA and CDC have given the go-ahead for kids ages 5 to 11 to get vaccinated. Now they could just help kids get over their jitters about needles.
A Draper teenager hospitalized with blood clots, and tonight we are hearing from his mother. She spoke with ABC4's Nick McGurk, who joins us live just outside of Corner Canyon High School. Nick, what did she have to say?
She says her son, Everest Romney, is 6'9" tall. He's a 17-year-old, as healthy as you could ever imagine. At 6'9", he plays basketball for Corner Canyon High. So the question is this: how did someone that she says had no underlying health conditions, was extremely healthy, end up in the ICU with a number of blood clots in and around his brain? Everything we're about to tell you is based on what his mother told me over a Zoom call just minutes ago. Let's talk about the timeline here. On April 21st, 17-year-old Everest Romney got his vaccine shot. This was his first shot. The next day, he complained of a sore neck, had swelling in his neck. A few days later, Everest couldn't even move his neck because of the swelling without literally putting his hands on his cheeks or on his head to move his neck. Now, the pediatrician told Everest's mother that he thought it could be a pulled neck muscle from all the basketball that Everest plays. He plays a high contact sport, and looking back, his mother acknowledges maybe this shot could have caused some kind of inflammation that was exacerbated by the competitive basketball that Everest plays. But let's get back to that timeline. At the time, his mother knew the swelling, those constant headaches, even a developing fever. It had to be something, she knew. But the pediatrician prescribed antibiotics, she says, a neck brace for a possible pulled muscle. Meantime, Everest, he just kept playing basketball. And then the migraine started. His mother finally got him a CT scan. Then she got another one ordered on his head. And that is when doctors found out he had 2 blood clots inside his brain, another on the outside of his brain.
The hardest thing was I let him get that shot. And he was healthy and well before. And I was doing my best, and I thought it was the right thing to do. And I don't want to discourage any parents from not doing that. But you question. You can't help but question it when it all goes wrong.
His mother says they do need a miracle, and they are so absolutely grateful for the prayers, the fasting, the messages of love. It is really holding this family up right now. Everest is still in the hospital, no longer in the ICU. A lot to be determined here. She still has a lot of questions, but that is her story. That is her son's story, and she certainly wants parents to be educated about what is possible. We're not naming the vaccine right now. There's no proven link. But again, she wants parents to be their own advocates for their children, and she wants pediatricians to know this: these vaccines are new. You might see something you've never seen before. Listen to the parents and pay attention. That is her message.
A Las Vegas teenager is learning to walk all over again after suffering rare side effects from the COVID-19 vaccine.
13 Action News reporter Jeremy Chen now joins us live. Now he is looking at her recovery and also what her family thinks about the vaccine. Jeremy.
Yeah, Todd and Tricia, Emma Berkey has gone through so much, and now she's finally at home undergoing intense physical therapy, and the hope is she'll be getting closer back to normal.
Emma's really a fighter. She is determined, I think, to get as well as she can.
It's one small step for Emma Berkey, but one giant leap in her recovery. It's about 6 months since Berkey suffered from rare blood clots after taking the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
I got the vaccine to protect my son, and after in March, April, they're announcing it was safe for teenagers. We got the Pfizer vaccine because I thought it was to protect him. I thought it was the right thing to do. It was like playing Russian roulette. My government lied to me. They said it was safe.
Julian Gonzalez took his family to collect candy at Mount Hebron Church when he decided to get his booster shot. The nurses offering the vaccine then recommended it for his 6-year-old son.
So they asked us, our kids' ages. And so we told them, 6 and 4, and they said, okay, well, the 6-year-old obviously can get it if you'd like to go ahead and do that.
They were then handed this Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine consent form indicating that their son was eligible due to his age, even though the vaccine hadn't been approved yet by the CDC.
Going off of their confidence and what we had read, we were all for it.
One of their neighbors had their 7-year-old vaccinated too. It wasn't until the next day both families received a call from the Garland Health Department letting them know not only were the two boys not supposed to get the vaccine, but that they had received adult doses 3 times the recommended amount.
There are reports that heart problems are now coming up in some young people who take the COVID-19 vaccine. The CDC is certainly investigating, wanting to know what's happening here.
The CDC investigating an increase in reports of a cardiac condition in young people who've gotten the COVID vaccine. Now, while a link between the two has not been officially confirmed, the reports might strike fear in some parents. In this morning's Health Minute, an explanation on the condition and more on what experts have to say about it.
It's a condition called myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle. The body's immune system causes the swelling in response to an infection or some other trigger. Since April, the CDC says more cases of myocarditis have been reported in the U.S., especially in young people who have gotten either the Moderna or Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine.
So tonight, a new study on the COVID-19 vaccines found more cases of heart inflammation than expected among members of our U.S. military.
Corner Canyon High School basketball player remains in the hospital this morning with blood clots in his brain developed shortly after getting his COVID-19 shot back in April. Doctors still don't know the cause of Everest Romney's symptoms. His family says he got a COVID-19 vaccine on April 21st. The next day, he had swelling in his neck, followed by days of severe headaches before doctors found blood clots in his brain. At this point, no one is linking the shot to the clots. His family hopes that he will be able to return to competitive basketball in the near future.
And you hope our thoughts are with him and his family today.
Just one day after receiving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The student was identified as Josh Foley, who attends the University of Cincinnati. He's from Columbus. Foley's death is under investigation by the Ohio Department of Health and the Hamilton County Coroner's Office. Now, at this time, there is actually no available evidence to suggest that his death is related to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, but it comes just a few days after U.S. health officials recommended a pause in the use of the single-dose shots to investigate the reports of rare but serious blood clotting.
Gasping for air, unable to breathe, the local teenager is rushed to an area hospital just hours after getting his second COVID-19 vaccine. Now, we told you just yesterday the CDC is investigating a small group of vaccine recipients with heart inflammation, and now we're learning about a case here in our area.
Joshua Henry, 14, died on the way to the Kumaka District Hospital after he collapsed about 90 minutes after taking the second dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. His father, Justin Henry, told the newsroom during a telephone interview that the teen went alone to take the vaccine at the Kamwata Health Center. According to his father, he was administered the second dose sometime between 13 hours and 14 hours. After he returned home, everything seemed fine. But then Joshua told his parents that his hands, lips, and other body parts started to darken. Not long after, he collapsed.
But first at 6, a story you'll only see right here on ABC 15. 10,000 Americans reported ringing in their ears after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine.
It's called tinnitus, but federal health officials say so far it is not a side effect.
It's been just a few weeks since the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices and the CDC recommended the use of the Moderna mRNA vaccine in adolescents. And now we're hearing of new cases of inflammation of the heart. So our 9 Health expert, Dr. Pal Coley, who is also a practicing cardiologist, joins us to offer some perspective. Hey, Dr. Coley, good morning.
Hi, Natasha. Good morning to you.
So my first question, are you worried about this news? What would you tell parents?
You know, Natasha, at this point, I'm not yet worried. What we do know is that it's been relatively few kids, so we don't have an exact number. We also know that the kids have had mild cases of myocarditis, and they're being followed to see if they recover completely, but a full recovery is expected. We also know that this occurs primarily in adolescents. We know that it has a slight male predisposition over females. It's more common following the second dose, and it tends to occur within 4 days of receiving the vaccine. Now, what we don't know is whether it's caused by the vaccine or it just has an association to the vaccine. In other words, is the vaccine causing this, or is this just a background rate of myocarditis that may have otherwise occurred regardless of whether the child got the vaccine or not?
They're still pushing for more people to get vaccinated. Meanwhile, there's new concern for young people.
Tonight, the CDC is investigating rare cases of heart inflammation among vaccinated teens and young adults. The agency says the complications were more common in males than in females, were seen more often following second doses, and were within 4 days after vaccination.
These are complications that were not totally unexpected, but are very, very rare and manageable. Whereas I can't emphasize it enough, the virus can be deadly.
So you're saying teens and young adults should still get the vaccine?
There's no question about it, is that right now 12 and older should get this vaccine, that the vaccine is remarkably safe.
From the exam room to the courtroom, this morning, new fronts in the fight against COVID-19. The CDC finding 16 to 24-year-olds who receive the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine have experienced higher than normal cases of myocarditis and inflammation of the heart muscle. Myocarditis symptoms can include fever and fatigue, shortness of breath, and chest pain. The CDC said the higher rate of cases occurred especially among young men following their second dose of an mRNA vaccine, but notes the reports are rare.
Begin tonight with that 18-year-old in Kenmore who has developed a heart problem after getting the second dose of COVID vaccine. It is one of a few dozen cases of myocarditis in young people across the U.S. The question now, is the vaccine the problem?
This is Maddie. She's 13 and wants to be a nurse. When the COVID vaccine became available, she volunteered for the Pfizer clinical trial. She wanted to help. This is her now.
I need to take this out.
There are others across the country like her, but they are ignored by the FDA and the media. You said it was safe. Maddie stepped up to help America. Who's going to step up to help Maddie?